Hello, everyone, and thanks, Jeff. My name is Daniela. I'm a PhD student at MIT, and I'm so excited to welcome you all here for our second annual Day of AI celebration. We have students from Warren Prescott Middle School and also New Mission High School, and distinguished guests from academia, policy, and industry. Thank you all for being here. Now, when most of you think about artificial intelligence, I bet you don't think of the Bill of Rights or the Senate chamber. But actually, lawmakers in Washington, D.C. met with the CEO of OpenAI, the parent company of ChatGPT, just this past Tuesday. And they met in a room that looks very similar to this one to talk about artificial intelligence, the amazing potentials for it, but also the need to regulate it in its proper use. So we're so excited to be here at the Edward Kennedy Institute to give you guys all the opportunity to share how you would like to see artificial intelligence. Thank you to the team here for all of your support in putting together a wonderful program for all the students to engage with today. We created Day of AI to introduce youth to the technical and ethical concepts that power AI technologies that they're so familiar with in their everyday lives. This year, our curriculum has reached over 7,000 students. Before we dive into our programming for the day, we have some very special speakers. First, we will hear from Sally Kornbluth, newly inaugurated president of MIT. Sally is a biologist who spent the first half of her career figuring out how cancer works and is now spending the second half of her career understanding how institutions work. As a student at MIT, I am so inspired to see a female scientist leading MIT. After Sally, we will hear from Deshpande and Michael Lawrence Evans from the City of Boston's Mayor's Office. Deshpande is a technologist for the public realm, and Michael Lawrence Evans is the program director for the Mayor's Office of New Urban Mechanics. Finally, we will hear from Adam L'Italien, who is Liberty Mutual's Chief Innovation Officer and head of Solaria Labs, which is Liberty Mutual's enterprise incubator. Again, thank you all so much for being here today, and I'd like to welcome up President Sally Kornbluth.
Thanks, Daniela, for that kind introduction. And to all of you here today, including those of you who are just coming in, and thousands of teachers and students who are joining us from all around the world, welcome. So thank you for bringing the Day of AI into your classroom. I also want to thank Professor Cynthia Breazeal and the team at MIT Raise and our sponsor, Liberty Mutual, for your terrific support of youth STEM education and career programs for students. And finally, a special welcome to the students from Boston's Warren Prescott School and New Mission High School. So give yourselves a hand. Come on. So when Professor Breazeal asked me to come today, I was very excited, and I'm going to tell you why. But first, let me ask you all a question. How many of you have had this experience? Someone older than you, let's say a parent or a grandparent, or maybe even a teacher, ask you to help them with some type of technology, a laptop or a smartphone. Where's your hand? Something they can't figure out. Yeah, 2 hands from some people. And it's really easy for you all, right? Like an instinct. You just sort of have the confidence to figure that out. So that should give you a feeling of why I'm so excited about the program. Simply by exploring the Day of AI curriculum, all of you already know more about AI and how it works and why it's important than most adults. And you have a serious head start on the future. Another very important aspect of what you're learning is that because AI is such a powerful new technology, in order for it to work well in society, it really needs some rules. That's true with any big technology that's new. There's always some sort of an adjustment period. So let's take cars, for example. They've been around for about 130 years, which means that even I grew up with them. But imagine, although I have to say my father used to tell me that when he was young, they actually were still cranking cars. So things have changed a lot. But imagine being around when the first cars were invented. They were very, very loud. They weren't very fast. But in the 1890s, they must have seemed like something just completely amazing. People could not wait to get a car and to get it onto the road. So there was just one problem, though. There were very few rules for how to behave on the road. No traffic lights, no yield signs, no speed limits. You didn't even need a driver's license. So to make sure we could all enjoy our cars without scaring everybody else on the road, as a society, we had to come up with some rules to govern driving. So, and we kept finding new ways to make driving safer and safer with new innovations, turn signals, brake lights, seatbelt laws. I have to say, when I was a kid, we didn't have seatbelts and you would stand by the back, inside the car at the back seat and lean over while your parents were driving. That is not something I hope any of you do now. There were no special car seats for children, no such thing as airbags. And now those things not only exist, we've decided as a society that they should be required by law. So AI is a lot more complex than the automobile, but it's similar because it's a cool new thing that lots of people are excited to use, and we need to make sure as a society that it's being used responsibly. AI has the potential, as you all know, to do all kinds of fantastic things, actually including driving a car. And it can help us with climate crisis, improve healthcare, and help design apps that we can't even imagine yet. But we have to make sure that what it doesn't do is cause harm to individuals, to communities, to us, or the society as a whole. But how do we do that? So to be honest, that's a big, complicated, difficult question that many people at MIT and other places are working on. They'll still be working on it for many years now, and when you're thinking about going to college and getting a job, these are still going to be important topics. And I hope that some of you will decide to be part of this bigger effort to help us figure out the best possible answers to questions that are raised by AI. But for now, I'm very encouraged. I'm proud of you all for taking on this work, and it's challenging, but interesting, exciting, and really important. And it's like a lot of what we do at MIT. So we're counting on you, the upcoming generation, to learn how AI works, to help make sure it's for everyone, not just for engineers or scientists at MIT or people with degrees in computer science, for everyone, including those parents and grandparents who use their smartphones to call you instead of, looking things up or instead of text. So you'll learn a lot today. You're going to have a lot of fun. You'll also be preparing yourselves to do something amazing to help shape the future of AI. So thanks very much to all of you. I'm going to turn things over to the team from the mayor's office, Deshpande and Michael Lawrence Evans. So thank you all very much, and I hope you have a great day.
Hey, y'all. Can y'all hear me all right? Yeah? Hello. Senators? We got a new mission in here? Yeah? Yeah? All right. Warren Prescott? Yeah. All right. Strong representation here. Thank you. Thank you, Sally, for the introduction. Thank you, Daniela, for having us here. And to Jeff and Janine and Marisol and Cynthia and everyone at Raise for having us here and putting this together. My name's Yo. This is Michael. This part of the morning is actually a test. One of us is AI generated and the other one is real. And you have to tell by the end of the presentation which one is which. On behalf of Mayor Michelle Wu and everyone working for the city of Boston, we want to congratulate you all on engaging in the Day of AI curriculum. And thank you all for doing this work, as well as all the teachers who've brought you all here. Because you've already started learning about AI in social media and recommender systems and data activism, and all these pieces. I think that we're excited to hear about all that you've sort of been learning and what you want to create with what you've learned in the city of Boston. So your experience of AI, let's see how this works. We're from the mayor's office, and we're going to tell you a bit about the work we do. But your experience with AI, as you probably are already seeing, opens up a ton of new possibilities for you all, a ton of new pathways. And that's in terms of work you can do in the future, so work you can do after school, jobs in the future, different opportunities like that, professional opportunities, but also, as I'm sure you're seeing, work you're doing right now, right? How you're doing homework, how you're learning about new subjects, how you're texting your crush. It's probably changing every part of how you approach these things. And so whenever there are multiple new paths like this, I think it can feel like it's hard to tell what's good and what's sort of ethical and what's interesting and what are the right paths to pursue. And hard to gauge the value of each one. So I think one thing that we want to talk about is how much uncertainty there can be and a way to move into that uncertainty. One way that we try to do that in the Mayor's Office of New Urban Mechanics is through this experimentation approach, experimentation at a small scale. We found that it's super, super useful to try out things, to test them, and see not just if a system works and how it works, but also how it matches up with our values, right? How it feels like it actually fits with our personality and the way that we want to be in the world or the way that we want to be in our community. This has been a really useful approach for us. I think there's probably a lot of overlap with stuff that you all have been learning already. And so to tell you a little bit about how and why we experiment in these ways, it's maybe going to be helpful to tell you a bit more about our office and what we do. So we are the City of Boston's Civic Research and Design Lab, the Civic Innovation Team, meaning basically that we try out new ways of doing government and new ways of civic life that maybe you wouldn't think of government doing, from working with local artists to trying out new kinds of placemaking installations to trying out new technologies on the streets and in parks. We try to just bring in a sort of an element of innovation and of newness and of creativity into the city of Boston, kind of what you all are already exploring in your work. The way that that ends up working, the experimentation a lot, is through this model where we try to explore, experiment, and evaluate, meaning that we bring in ideas from different people who live in Boston or different departments or the mayor, and then we explore them, we see what the application is and if they're useful, and then we evaluate them and see if there's something that we can pull out that might be useful for the city of Boston overall. So this is how it's kind of supposed to go. This is how it actually ends up going more often. It's a very messy process, experimentation. There's a lot of back and forth. There's oftentimes sort of a cat involved. And the process of it, though, by experimenting in small scale, ends up being that we learn a lot, and then we get to share those learnings out a little bit. So I'll pass to my colleague Michael to tell us a little bit more about our process. It's the bottom one. That's the bottom one. Yeah.
Okay. Hey there. So I'm Michael from New Urban Mechanics. One central question I want you all to sort of think about, because you are the future, and when you're adults, I'll be old, and you'll be running the world. But think about this central question around how artificial intelligence can improve the life of the city. We think a lot about that a lot at New Urban Mechanics. We think about the future of city services. We think about services that are equitable, accessible, and delightful. And I'll give you some tangible examples of how artificial intelligence might play a role in making services, more equitable and just better for you and your parents and the rest of your family. And another thing just to mention is that, we do this through partnerships between City Hall and community. But just to get to the examples, when we think about services, sometimes we think about basic city services. So that is, maybe improving trash pickup. Maybe that's improving the way that potholes are filled in the city. One way that we do this is through an app we created called the Boss 311, which is the city's, it's basically an app that you can use to report problems directly to the city. So if you see like a missed trash pickup on your street, if there's a sidewalk that is broken and you want it fixed, then you can use this app to report it directly to the city. I'm just kind of taking you through some through some screenshots of the app so you can sort of see how it works. But one thing in particular with the app is that last year we worked to make it available in 10 additional languages. And so one way that we're using artificial intelligence is that, imagine that you are a resident and you are, you only speak Spanish and you are submitting a report to the city about, maybe a broken sidewalk. And one thing that we can use is we can use a translation service that is based on artificial intelligence or machine learning to automatically translate the request into English, which is sort of the predominant language for the work crews that will actually go out and fix, either fix the sidewalk or, do whatever else needs to be done. One other example is around autonomous vehicles. So President Kornbluth mentioned sort of the role around artificial intelligence and how it will probably totally revolutionize car driving in the city. So one thing that we've been doing is we've been partnering with a couple companies that are developing these autonomous vehicles, and they're testing them out in South Boston at a place called the Marine Industrial Park. And that is using all sorts of artificial intelligence in various computers inside the car so that it can essentially drive itself. And maybe when you get to college, when you get to when you get into your careers, you can work on similar technology that will change the world. So I'll pass it back off to you.
Thanks, Michael. A bit more on different experiments we've done. Here you see some personal delivery devices, robots that travel along the sidewalks that we've been sort of testing out. One thing that we tried to do here was not just set robots out on the streets immediately, but have a series of workshops that we had with young people at Boston Public Library branches, where we had sort of interactions with robots and heard about how people really want to interact with these artificially intelligent systems that use computer vision, object detection to navigate along city streets. And from that process, we're sort of using people's responses to inform the policy about the robots a little bit. What I think this all builds towards, and the experiments that Michael was talking about as well, is the process of trying to bring values in to the different technological experiments and new innovations that we do, which led to this project called the Smart City Playbook, which was trying to bring in our ideas about what meaningfully might make the city better or make sort of our communities better places to live into the frames that we use for technology. So the last part we want to talk about is this sort of experiment in community. A lot of what we're getting at here is testing things out, right? Testing out new things, but trying to do that in a way that feels like it's continually orienting, facing towards our values and what we care about most. I think one way to do that is to think about the interactions of technology in the context of relationships, right? How do we want to behave with our parents? How do we want to behave with our siblings? How do we want to behave with our best friends versus someone who we don't really know that well? And then how do we want to behave in the same way with a different kinds of technological system that we use? How do we want to carry ourselves in a relationship when we're interacting, having a conversation with a large language model, right? And so what we want to leave you with is this idea about engaging in these sorts of experiments to improve your life in the city and the lives of all the people around you. When we think about civic engagement, it could sound like another thing to do, another thing to sort of add on, right? It's another task. But really, civic engagement isn't about something you have to do. It's what you can do. It's what you're capable of doing in your family, in your community, right, in your neighborhood. It's about how much you want to take on and how much you can sort of transform your environment. So the thing that we want to leave you with is that we're excited to see what you all come up with from all this learning that you've gone through. We're excited to see how you transform your environments and keep designing in different ways. And we would love to hear from you how you do it. We'd love to hear your ideas about how Boston can be a better place and how the world can be. Thank you all. Talk to you soon. Yeah, we'll pass it off to Adam. Come up and talk to you.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Yeah? All right, good. I'm Adam L'Italian. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer at Liberty Mutual. We're a global insurance company headquartered here in Boston. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here with all of you today in the room. This is a really cool space. It looks bigger on TV, right? One-to-one replica, it looks bigger on TV, but it's really cool, still good. And also really happy to be connected to everybody on the live stream across the world. I mean, that's pretty awesome, right? We're all connected, we're all gonna learn today. So at Liberty Mutual, we have this saying, it's actually, I think, more of a belief that progress is made when people feel secure, right? And when I think about secure, I think about being safe, protected, supported, right? That's a good feeling. And that's like core to our business, right? That's what we do as a company. We strive to do it every day for our customers and our communities. And I think it's a theme of today. You heard the previous speakers talk about the importance of safe use of AI, and you're going to learn about that today, which I think is really, really important. So rather than me talk more about that right now, what I thought I could do is talk about another belief that I have that I think is also really relevant today, which is the engagement or exposure to emerging technologies in your life, especially at this stage of your life, is very, very important, and it can accelerate progress in the world. But it can also accelerate progress for each of you, for your lives, for your careers. It can be very, very powerful. And it definitely was for me. So I just wanted to share like a quick story of how it changed my life and shaped my paths. So I introduced myself as Chief Innovation Officer. And chief is like a small word in terms of size, but it can be a big word. And in business, it usually means somebody or a group of people trusted you to take on a lot of responsibility, right? And when I got the opportunity to do this job, which is essentially my dream job, I was like time froze and I said, how did I get here? Because I can remember when I was sitting in a chair like you, watching someone like me, and I think the only chief, let me ask, any gamers in the room? Anybody play games? Anybody play Halo on Xbox? Any Halo? Got a couple. So the only chief I ever thought I would be when I was your age was the Master Chief from Halo, all right? So, but things happened for me. So, all right, so time froze and I sort of tried to access my memory and say, how did this happen? What were the things, or what was that moment that really shaped my future? And I pinpointed it to a bowling alley in the 1980s. So I don't know if bowling's cool. By thumbs up or thumbs down, is bowling cool, like neutral, or not cool? Bowling is still cool. All right, so it was cool then, it's still cool now. So I'm in a bowling alley. I was about your age, and I wasn't even bowling. I think I was eating a square piece of pizza. It was very satisfying. I don't know if they still have square pizza, but in bowling alleys, square pizza, I don't know why it's not round, it's square, it's weird. But I was eating a square piece of pizza, and I have a sister who's a little bit older than me, and she was in a bowling tournament, so she was competing. And you always want to win, and I don't think we won often, but on this day, she won. And I was eating my pizza, and I said, oh wow, what could she have won? And when you think of a bowling tournament, what do you think you're gonna win? Like, trophy, yes. Bowling ball? Like a bowling ball with her name on it. I pictured a bag, like a leather bag to put your bowling things in, which we had none of, because we would just rent the shoes and we didn't have a bowling ball, so that would have been useless. I thought free pizza for life, that would have been cool. But the person who came out from behind the counter was holding a large box, which I would say it looked like a typewriter, but I don't know if you've seen a typewriter, so I'll say it looked like a very large keyboard. And I didn't know what it was. I hadn't seen it before. This is the 80s, mid-80s, and I looked closely, and it was a personal computer. And I didn't know what that was at the time, so it was like a new thing. It's like AI, it's these new technologies. And I walked up and I looked at it and I said, wow, okay, let's do this. So we got home, we plugged it into the TV because there weren't monitors. And here's the crazy part. It actually came with a cassette player. Who knows what cassette tapes are? So cassette tapes, awesome. Wow, this is better than I thought it was gonna go. So cassette tapes on their own are fascinating because you think about music, you got records. I think there was 8-track for a period of time. Don't know what that is. There's cassette tapes, there were CDs, there's MP3s, and now it's just all around us. The music just flows into our devices from the cloud. So even that alone is amazing. So back in the 80s though, cassette tapes were like the norm for how you listen to music. And I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? Why do I have this with this computer? So you actually had the software on the cassette tape, and you would put it in the cassette player, and you would play the tape into the computer to load the software, and you could actually hear the data. So it was really, really cool, but it was also really awful because you would have to sit there listening to the data while you waited to play the game or do the thing. So anyway, it loaded up, and then boom, my mind was blown. You could type, you could do art, you could play games, you could even create your own games, and I was hooked from that point on. So that was the beginning. I pursued technology in any way that I could. I spent time at the library because they had computers. I went to arcades because they had video games. It was all about the tech, right? So my parents worked really hard. My mom's actually was a school teacher for over 30 years, so shout out to my mom. Good job. So it's they saved and they got us an Apple IIc computer with a printer, amazing, and the list goes on and on. The other major moment in my life was the first time I ever connected to the internet. And again, that was a new thing. There was a thing called a modem. And the modem would connect your computer to another computer or a series of computers via the phone line. It would actually dial the phone and connect you to the internet. And that was probably the other major moment in my life when you went from static experiences, just what you had in your own home or in the computer, to connected to the world, the data, the communication, connecting with new people. It was amazing. And it was very similar to what we heard. With any new technology, there was risks, but you had to engage. It was amazing. You just had to do it safely. So from that point forward, my life was just on a path. I pursued degrees in engineering, which I got, which were great. I got my first internship, and I remember my parents saying, how did you know how to get an internship? And I was like, I don't know. I just know that's where the technology was. So I went to get the internship. I got my first job. I actually did research and development for government labs with a focus on helping people complete a mission and be safe. And then finally, about 10 years ago, I had the opportunity to become part of Liberty Mutual, where I continued to pursue that mission of bringing new approaches, new process, new technology to help people be safe and feel protected. So I tell you all of that in hopes to inspire you that what you're doing today and what you'll continue to do will shape your future and change it and give you an advantage. And I want you to have that advantage. It can be very, very powerful. But I'm also saying it because my passion, which I discovered through life, was a combination of emerging technology and helping people be safe. And that's the theme of today, and that's what you're going to be learning. So AI, like any new thing, any new technology, like we heard about the car is a great example. There's risks, but it doesn't mean we don't want to lean in and engage and learn. We just have to be mindful of those risks. And when you think about AI, it's actually been around for decades. It's not new. Believe it or not, it's been around for about 70 years. It's very evolutionary. It's evolved over time, but it's hard to dispute that in this moment right now, we're on the forefront of a major step change in what's possible. And that's why learning how to use it safely is even more important, because things are changing so quickly, right? So there's a lot to think about. You got to think about privacy. You got to think about protecting, our ability to communicate to each other, mitigating biases, making it inclusive, making it fair. The list goes on and on. There's lots of considerations. It can be overwhelming. But, as we were thinking about this, as we were thinking about talking to you, I think there's a quote that works really well here. It's very simple. It's when Uncle Ben was talking to Peter Parker when he was first getting his powers. And he said, with great power comes great responsibility, right? So there's a little bit of Spider-Man in all of us today. So we all have to do what we can to help each other be safe. And it's good for us and it's good for the world. So excited for the day, excited for what you'll learn. I'm actually also, I've heard others say this, I'm very proud of all of you for taking this time, the folks in the room, the folks taking the time connected via the stream to learn about these things. There's no doubt it'll accelerate progress in the world, progress in your lives, and unlock doorways and futures for your careers. So Thanks very much, everybody. Appreciate it. And I think what you'll do today will also help all of us be collectively safe as these new technologies present themselves and as we work with them in the future. So that's it for me. I think I'm going to hand it back to Daniela, and I just wish you a great day today. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I think what's really cool, and I think what you should all think about, is that all of our speakers kind of came from different areas. So we had someone from academia, industry, policy, and I think it's really cool to know that, no matter where your careers go, AI might be a part of it. And it's really important that you're learning about it now. So thank you. Excited to introduce our next person. So I'm going to introduce Marc Aidinoff. Marc works at the intersection of tech policy and social policy, and he most recently served as the Chief of Staff and Senior Advisor at the White House's Office of Science, Technology, and Policy. So how many of you all learned about the Blueprint AI Bill of Rights last week, right? Awesome. So Marc actually got to work on that and work on putting it together. So I'm really excited to have him here today. And he has some questions for all of you about what you've learned and what your thoughts are on the bill. Awesome.
Thank you all so much for having me, and thank you for getting rid of the high schoolers. I thought they were really killing the vibe in here and preventing us from having an honest conversation over the next 30 minutes. So I wanted to start off by telling you a little bit about the Office of Science and Technology Policy, which is kind of the wonkiest office in the White House, but we're the office that thinks about the future, thinks about what we want to build, and we got to write this blueprint for an AI Bill of Rights, and then have a conversation with you and get to hear your thoughts about where we want to go. The main takeaway I hope you get from today is that government is us. It's folks who look like your last speakers, who look like me. It's in places that, yeah, this building's big and shiny and powerful, but it's also human-sized. There are not that many desks. There are not that many deciders. You should feel you're part of the team that's making these decisions. What I thought about in the Office of Science and Technology Policy was making sure the table of people giving input to policy was inclusive, that we were focused on the right problems. I think my takeaway, the other thing I want to make sure you take away today is, and this was in President Kornbluth's conversation at the beginning, is that you already know some fundamental things that some senators, that some policymakers are missing, which is not to panic, that AI is something that can be understood, that it takes a little bit of work to understand, but that it can be understood, and that we can rely on old, tried and true values, and that was something we tried to do with the AI Bill of Rights. The final thing I want to leave you with before asking for where you see we should be going is to say, I'm trying to think how to say this right after all that's happened in this room so far, but that the work of building the world you want is far harder than the technical work of making an AI system work. How do you convince people? How do you make constituents? How do you bring everyone together to articulate a collective vision of where we want to go? So for the next half an hour, we're going to have a discussion. I want to hear your feelings, and I wanted to get a sense of what you know about AI, but really tell me where you think it should be going. What are some of the harms you see that are happening now? What are some of the opportunities? And so I think you've had some conversations in your classrooms, but let's kick it off with what are some harms you see? What are some opportunities? What's exciting you about AI? What's making you nervous? What should folks thinking about law and policy know? So I'll open it up. I think there are microphones around, so raise hands. But it's a pretty small room, so I can probably hear you anyway. Yeah.
The main issue is that
Absolutely. So we have privacy concerns. AI is a privacy issue. Love that. Yeah. New ways to solve problems. Say a little bit more about what type of problems you have in your mind. So sort of, okay, so like some mapping softwares or, great, yeah. Yeah, go. No, it's good to get a build up.
Oh, there's a microphone. Oh, this is cool. Okay, so it can be very, very complicated. Because I was in last night at my house. I was like, whoa, we have a field trip tomorrow. I gotta like study up on this. So I opened ChatGPT and I'm like, what do I ask this thing? I have no original ideas anymore. But I type in like, write an essay on George Washington. And it wrote a 5-page essay, which I couldn't write if I had 5 hours, and it wrote it in 1 minute. So it can be smarter than most people, which can kind of be freaky. I'm just gonna say, I'm now out of ideas. Okay.
So, but that is a really important thing that it freaks people out. And that's actually something as a policymaker you think about a lot, which is how do we make people not freak out that something's changing and new? So we have real fundamental privacy issues, but we also have, this feels weird. I'm gonna call on this block because you're out of my eyesight. So I'll get this one, and then someone over here is gonna step up. Yeah. I really like the attention to privacy that's coming through. I think that's really, really helpful and important. It's something we made its own. Of the 5 points in the AI Bill of Rights, that was its own one because privacy is so important. And technology really does change a lot of that. See a hand here?
I've noticed that AI might draw more attention to technology, and a lot of people would spend more time on their phones or other devices. But when I read a book about something a long time ago, they always spend their time outside playing with friends. So I think AI could be bad because, first of all that electricity isn't good for the climate, and people are putting too much blue light into their eyes and spending too much time on devices.
So there are a whole bunch of points there. There's climate, there's not going outside, there's blue light and not getting sleep. So there are all sort of mental health issues there. And there's just not reading in the same way, right? And there's the attention economy issues. Oh, I see a hand here. This group's next.
One of my biggest concerns is whoever's designing AI, if they have our best interest in mind.
Absolutely. That's a huge concern. So folks in DC who think about ways to deal with that issue, there's an antitrust lens, there's a regulatory lens. There are a bunch of ways to think about how to make sure the institutions that are building these systems are building them with a public interest in mind. Yes?
I think another problem is for the future. Say if you want to become a surgeon, but all you use is AI to get you to that spot, and then when you are actually in the room of performing surgery, you don't know what to do. I feel that's gonna be a problem because people are just gonna cheat off AI.
You're missing learning a whole set of basic skills, and so people may forget how to do certain things. Yeah.
I think that with AI and its advances, it has pluses because it can help us with problems that humans can't solve themselves. If surgeons or doctors or business people have problems that they can't figure out on their own, AI can help them. But it's also kind of scary because it can just advance too much to the point where it starts like getting out of hand, and people like it basically overtakes people, like it replaces us, which isn't good. So yeah.
So there's the replacement problem, and then there's that on sort of the more micro scale. So this how jobs are changing. Even jobs like surgery is laid out here. Yeah, got two hands here. Do the front row first. Yeah.
So I agree that it can change the way we do stuff because it can take a lot of jobs in place. Like ChatGPT can write a program for something. So while instead of having people do that, then you're laying off people, and also like robots that are in factories, then they'd be also laying off people. So we wouldn't have as many people actually working, which might not seem such as a bad thing as first, because you're like, oh, I can just lounge around all day. But then you're not actually making any money, so you don't have anything to buy, and there are less jobs to do. So unless everybody somehow does not have a job anymore, then it doesn't really work out.
So this is a huge problem, and I will just add to that excellent point that some of the jobs get worse because we have automated systems that are pushing people to fill the gaps between machines. So you see some factory work that's gotten worse as systems get automated rather than better. Yeah.
What am I supposed to say?
So what do you think about AI? What we talked about
Oh,
in class? Yes, like about privacy or about
yeah.
Algorithm, those kind of things.
Okay.
Yes. So do you have something you'd like to say?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think AI would. So for like privacy, AI will like collect your information, and you have the right to give it if you want to. If you don't want to give your information, you also have the right to transparency, which means disclose information.
Yeah, thank you. Both privacy and transparency, yeah. We'll do 1, 2. Let's do the back row first, and then.
Getting my stuff.
And it asks for your email or something, and you put that in. Sometimes asks for your password too or something. They can store that information, and so they can keep it, and then it's a privacy issue.
Right. So you have just these basics of in-app browsers. Some of that's complex AI issue, and sometimes it's just stealing password information. Go ahead. Yeah.
I think if the AI is taking over jobs, kind of like what she said, then I'm pretty sure customers and people who would go to the different places would want to know that the person who is, for example, at a restaurant or at a doctor's office, they would want to know that the person who is taking care of them has practice and knows what they're doing and can't glitch.
Right. No, we're coming back to the same point. You want to make sure that there's a human who can be trusted underneath. This was one of the things we also talked about in the AI Bill of Rights, was making sure there's a human alternative. I think there was a hand in the second row here a while back. I want to make sure yeah.
But then, just as Paige said, it's going to start taking jobs. Then eventually, all the jobs are going to be gone. Nobody's working. Nobody can, pay. And then the AI just going to take over. AI and vision.
So I think this is an area where, great point, and it's good to think about it before we get to the apocalypse scenario. Right. So yes, there's the all jobs disappear, but what about some jobs disappearing? What about some jobs getting worse, and which jobs and how that changes and what the solutions are? Someone we haven't heard from. Yeah.
So AI, as a bunch of other people are saying, they can take jobs, and now some jobs are already being taken by AI, and some people might think that's better that they're taking jobs, but I'd also like to see like people so they have emotions and like feelings so they understand like how like if you're like a chef or like a worker like an Amazon worker or something, like I don't want my packages like being delivered by like a robot because like they also make mistakes.
There's a whole set of jobs where it's really important to get human labor and human emotions. Yeah, right here and then here.
Back onto the privacy issue, like we were talking about this in class, like say you're talking about something and AI is always listening, and then like an ad for it comes on or like a commercial comes on or like that, but it's also like really smart. So like Graham said, like it would take him take humans probably like over a day to write like a 5-page essay, but it takes them like 1 minute to do it. So
Yeah. One might ask what the point of their 5-paragraph essay is, but it totally changes what it means, and it's going to change the assignments. Yeah, I think we've got a hand right here and then here.
I wanted to add to it, like I was kind of saying earlier, but not really. AI can also change like art because I've seen a lot of like propaganda, fake news, like all that stuff, but like it's AI generated. Like AI can make like pictures of things that like never happened. Like we were learning about that in class too. So that's like bad because it can make like it can like ruin people's like entire lives. It can take people's jobs away because it paints them as a person that they're not.
Yeah, so you both have these exciting artistic opportunities, and you have these really frightening new types of fake news images, and people need a new way of looking critically and thinking critically at those images. Yeah.
I think AI is good.
Great. Tell me more.
What's ChatGPT? You're its boss, so like you command it.
So one of the key features is your control of these systems. Yeah. Hand right over here. And then we're going to go to that back row that I've missed, hiding.
I want to add on to what someone said. It can like impersonate you in a way. Like it can like copy your voice and like even your face and like make it make it seem like you did something bad, even though like you didn't really do anything.
Absolutely. Are there examples you're thinking of?
Yeah. There's like this one thing like where like I forget specifically what it was, but like it was like some like it like copied someone's voice and face and like it made it seem like they did something they didn't really do.
Yeah. Thank you. This row, these two back rows here, yeah.
And one thing that's cool and kind of scary about AI is like YouTube and TikTok recommendeds. If you like something, then or subscribe to a channel or something, that'll start showing up more on your YouTube and TikTok. And I mean, it's cool because it's convenient, but it's also kind of scary because it's like tracking everything you like and don't like.
Right, and what if you want to discover something new, but you're getting these great recommendations? Yeah. Oh, 1, 2.
Money, I should refund it and pay it back or something.
So it just makes spam, which has always been a problem. Now it's suddenly believable. Yeah. I forget which of the two of you over here.
I think that AI is good, but it can also be bad. But there are some jobs that AI can't take over, like teaching or being like, I don't know, a therapist, because they don't have the like actual experiences. Like they'd probably just be finding things online most of the time and just reading off from there because they don't know what they're actually like. It's built into their brain, but not actually like saved into their brain. So yeah. And like being a therapist or being like a comedian, they don't have like being a comedian, you need life experience and stuff. And you can't just like go online and look up a dad joke. So
I like these 3 career paths that are safe. Yeah, I'm trying to see someone who we didn't get and then pivot to sort of start talking about solutions. Yeah, right in the back over there.
Say for example, like for like a test, you had to write like a 5-paragraph essay, and like you use AI. That's like cheating. And then it's also good because if you're bored, you you tell AI like, oh, I'm bored. Is there anything I can do? Like they can give you ideas like, oh, you should go play outside and stuff like that.
It's fun. So I want to just double click on a few points, and then let's start pivoting to sort of thinking about how we turn some of this into policy, which is I think how we're going to spend the rest of the day. So the first thing is you don't have to decide if AI is good or bad. You should think about what some of the applications are, what some of the features are, what are some of the harms we're trying to mitigate, prevent, outlaw, and what are some of the good parts we want to nurture. So I'm going to ask in the last 10 minutes to think about policy solutions. So think about what you do to encourage the opportunities you see and to prevent some of the harms. So if you're thinking about jobs, what are some solutions to changing employment situations? So like universal basic income, where everyone gets a check no matter what, is one popular solution to changing workforce. Job retraining. What are some mental health solutions? What are some, if you want to encourage these, are you giving subsidies to companies? Are you giving them regulatory free rein? So take a minute, think about the problems and opportunities, give yourself a minute to collect your thoughts, and think about what some policies you might propose. You might make a rule that says something has to be the case. You might say no AI in schools. Just the way that you might say no phones in schools. You might say recommender systems have to surprise you. Think about some solutions. So from that, yeah.
I think for the privacy thing that they should ask you before if you want it to be saved or if you don't want it to be saved.
So a notice and consent model. So saying like you agree before you give away your privacy. This is a really hard thing to do in practice because how many of you just sort of click through really quickly through a notice and consent box? Yeah, we've got some click through people, and so it's an important model. And it's an important part, and so all sorts of countries, but particularly Europe, have spent a lot of time thinking about how to make privacy clear and what you're agreeing to give away. Yeah.
AI can be an integral part of helping the job, but it's more likely that it is for the better if we still have a human as the primary laborer or worker on the job.
So making sure that it's not a replacement but a complement, that the two are working together. Yeah. Yeah. Right here, front row. Sorry, I'm making all the teachers walk all over.
So AI is also like input generated, like you need to give it something for it to actually work. So also one of the points that we didn't really talk about, but it was mentioned a bit, I think over there maybe by Izzy, that like companies should just have to, they can't like mess with any, like they can't give the AI input that might make it biased to something beforehand. They can just write the program that it can search for information, because AIs, like us, they learn kind of from the information that they find. So on the internet, AI, it might search like through a website on there about tacos, if you ask it to write a taco recipe. And it's searching through so many websites that's not going to be the same. But if something the company puts in, it might make it biased to the chip tacos or something.
Right, so thinking a lot about what the input data is really important. And then thinking of this, and going back to a few of you who said privacy, like what if this is my family recipe? Should it be allowed to be stolen as training data? Yeah.
I've noticed on some websites they have cookies and stuff, or maybe people should be educated on that because I don't really know what they are. And also, I think AI has some positive aspects, like Face ID, because that keeps people from going on your phone even if you know the password, or even some more settings on that so that you can choose whatever you'd like to access something.
Yeah, I love the idea of Day of AI. We have this all amazing AI curriculum, but like we should be doing cookies too. Like we should be doing platform granularity in how you're choosing your privacy settings. I want to get the two outer edges that I keep missing because I'm looking forward. So some folks from here, anyone from here, and then, but we'll get this guy because I saw that reel. That was a high hand.
There should be like a seat of firewall, for like viruses, like to keep out viruses. There should be one for apps so AI is on information.
So say a little bit more about what you mean by that.
Like they should block like for privacy. They should block out AIs from like looking at your information and maybe taking it.
Okay, so we should cordon off some of the training data so it's only private information. So to cordon off private information, I like that. Yeah, over here.
She's too shy to say it, so I'll say it because I'm not shy. We were talking in class about TikTok in China and the whole business with them tracking information of young people and what's being done. And I know that something's going to be happening this week, I believe. So that's.
And just this week, actually, the state of Montana has banned TikTok. And so something we haven't talked about is whether there should be different rules also for kids' data, under 18 data, under 16 data. But TikTok is a really interesting case, and we thought about it a lot in my office because they're definitely doing different kinds of things with data than other companies. Let's get over here, and then I think last two. But I'm going to make that back row. Someone I haven't heard from.
Surely the gentleman over the Warren Prescott have some thoughts on AI.
What?
No one? I feel an idea percolating. We'll come back. Yeah.
Like Izzy said, because it's really important that humans perform certain jobs because only a human can like be a real surgeon because they have that experience and they know what to do, whereas like an AI, like my phone always glitches all the time. If an AI were to glitch while like doing surgery, I would probably not be okay.
Yeah, so we should think about this, and this is something that I think is really important in an industry by industry, sector by sector, job by job approach, because we expect different levels of things. If this microphone stops working, not the end of the world. If your surgery tools stop working, that's a very different scenario. I'm keeping my eye open there, but yeah.
I don't really know if this answers your question, but like, I think there should be limits to what AI say, because I saw a video about a guy on ChatGPT asked how to make a nuclear bomb, and it told him the step by step, and I think that's not okay, because dangerous.
It's not great. And so thinking about how to balance some free speech questions and some programming questions with where this goes. So Daniela, do we have time for two more? Do 1, 2, 3.
I agree with all of the things that, all of the concerns about AI, but I use Canva a lot for graphic design, and one of the newest additions to the app was the AI text to image, or like the generator, because you can just type something in and it'll generate an image that's like you've never seen it before. It's like not real. And if you type in just your subject and a few keywords in the generator, it'll draft an entire presentation for you. It's crazy.
And it helps you, in a creative way too. You're surprised by what it generates. Yeah, Speedy.
I don't necessarily think that AI would not take over a surgeon or a therapist job because, like I said before, AI, you have input in them. So if it was in a surgeon's job, and they didn't glitch that much, because how much does your phone glitch, really? Like when it's new and you haven't been dropping it on the floor for that many times. So I think that in the future, once the technology would be better, then AIs could necessarily take over those jobs because they could make their voice sound like a human's. They have things like quotes on the websites, then they wouldn't necessarily not be able to take over a therapist or a teacher's job. They'd be fully capable of teaching someone that. And also, I think it would be important that companies, AIs, would not be able to access other apps that are on your phone, because certainly if a company built that into the program on the AI, they could, once you downloaded it, it could send a virus. It could look at all the other apps on your phone and pull it up in your AI website and, I don't know, make it more appealing to you, but also searching your private information.
So there's lots of work ahead setting standards for these different jobs. And last comment, super quick.
I agree with what you said. Like, I think we need to make AI prevent to not steal your privacy. So if you put your credit card in somewhere, we should make it so they don't steal your credit card number and all that stuff.
Awesome. We'll leave it on that, on privacy. Thank you all so much. This is really, really thoughtful, and this is actually what policymaking looks like, sitting around, debating these things, trying to find some agreement on what rules can move forward. So thank you all.
Hello, senators. I love saying that. You are all amazing, and you all did really important work here today. So I'm Cynthia Breazeal. I am the director of the MIT RAISE initiative. RAISE stands for Responsible AI for Social Empowerment and Education. And as you may all know now, MIT RAISE hosts our Day of AI celebration event every year. And we hosted this one's here at this amazing facility at the Edward Kennedy Institute with you. So thank you all for celebrating the Day of AI with us. I hope you all had an amazing, thought-provoking, super fun time with us here today. Did the senators all have an awesome time? Yeah, woo! All right. So we need to express our gratitude now for so many people. It was really an amazing team who made this very special Day of AI celebration event possible for you here today at the Edward Kennedy Institute. They totally rock. This is gonna take me a little bit of time to get through this list. But first, I wanna give a big shout out for the team at the Edward Kennedy Institute. Woo! All right. For coordination and logistics, let's give our thanks to Adam Hines, who is the CEO of the Edward Kennedy Institute, Lauren Janes, who is the director of the Institute and Community Events, and Darshan Gu, who is the Chief Program Officer. Yay, all right. There are also several people who collaborated closely with us at MIT to help develop and deliver today's educational programs. We have Sarah Yetzi, who is the Director of Education, Family, and Youth Programming. There's Nate Gundy, Manager of Educational Programs, and Michael Champagne, Program Content Lead. And everyone else at EKI who made today's event possible. Our team at RAISE, we really enjoyed collaborating with all of you in designing and showcasing today's activity. So all of our senators could have a really worthwhile experience. And this truly, just breathtaking space. So thank you all. All right, more. I want to give a very special shout out to our activity leads who are true stars today. So for our middle school program, let us give a big round of applause to Daniela Di Piola over here. our AI Bill of Rights activity lead in this fabulous U.S. Senate chamber simulation. So I don't know if she shared this with you, but so Daniela is my PhD student. And she's the mastermind behind the Dave AI curriculum on the AI Blueprint Bill of Rights. So that is Daniela. It is really fantastic. It's the first of its kind. And it's super timely and super relevant, as you all know. And it was inspired by the recent release of the actual White House Office of Science Technology Policy, who released their blueprint Bill of Rights for AI Bill of Rights, making automated systems work for the American people. So she worked with a team here at EKI to design this really fabulous session for you all. So Daniela, you rock. I also want to give a big shout out to Marc Aidinoff. So he joined you here this morning for the Jefferson Scholars Foundation, who really kicked off today's event in the Senate chamber on our AI and human rights discussion. So that was really amazing, added a ton of value, very, very special guest. Woo! All right, Marc. Okay, and for our high school program, I want to make some noise for Matt Taylor. He led our Smart Act workshop. My master's student, Rachel Walker, and Matt Taylor played a big role in the development of our Day of AI, Data Science, and Me curriculum. And many of you have been able to do that. And they worked with the EKI team here to develop the Smart Act workshop, which is super exciting for our high schoolers here today. So big shout out to Matt and Rachel, woo! And I also just want to give a really warm round of applause for our data scientist visitors from Liberty Mutual, Phil Ahn and Steve Aduru, who took time out of their busy days to share their experiences and how data science is used in real life. So super awesome. Thank you so much for your time and attention. All right, now, to all of our Day of AI participants, this is you. I want to give a shout out to Boston Public Schools for their engagement and their support for this kind of program. I want to acknowledge, appreciate, and celebrate all of you, these terrific student senators and your teachers. You have invested, not only your time today, but significant energy in preparing for today by doing the Day of AI curriculum before you came. So both the AI Bill of Rights and the Data Science and Me activities in your classrooms, and then spending the morning with us. So you should all feel super proud with what you've all accomplished. Woo! So I want to acknowledge lead teacher Stephanie Forte? I don't know if I'm saying that right. And teachers Carla McCormick, Janine Stansfeld, Nancy Arsenal, and Brian Haley, and Tom Neiman. Thank you so much for sharing your students with us here today. It was just such a delight to watch them in action today. So much enthusiasm, so many opinions. It's really awesome. And of course, all of you from the Warren Prescott School, really, really a delight to have you here today. So for our high schoolers, I want to give a big shout out to the lead teacher, Rebecca Yu, and all the students from Mission High School, New Mission High School. They all did a really fantastic job in the Smart Act workshop and doing the Data Science and Me workshop. So again, we truly hope you had a really worthwhile experience here and that you learned something new. And you can take this with you throughout your whole life, this kind of experience. I want to give our appreciation to our we truly were really lucky to have amazing VIP speakers this morning to kick it all off. Their support for today and morning remarks are really, really deeply appreciated. So MIT President Sally Kornbluth, so exciting to have her here today. From the Boston Mayor's Office, big shout out to Deshpande. He's the technologist for the public realm, and Michael Lawrence Evans, who's program director for urban mechanics. Woo! And Adam Letallian, the Liberty Mutual Chief Innovation Officer and the head of Solara Lab. So again, just an amazing group of truly inspiring people. And then I want to thank this incredible MIT Raise team of faculty, staff, and students. I mean, there are really too many to name, but they develop all of the curriculum modules that you've been able to enjoy in Dave AI and more. But I do want to give a special shout out to our folks up here, Parker, Sharifa, Safina, Sharifa, and Randy. They are all in my group. They came here today to help out. They are so passionate about AI literacy for K-12. Thank you so much. And to Ethan Berman and his team at I2 Learning for helping us bring Dave AI to students and teachers really all over the world. They are a key collaborative of ours in the teacher professional development. You know, so just to give you a little broader context, this is only our second year of bringing the day of AI to teachers and students, and it's worldwide. So it continues to be hugely successful and just growing like crazy. So this year we doubled our number of teachers, educators, and mentors to over 6,000 people who registered for the Day of AI curriculum from over 100 countries. So you are joining many, many, many other students all around the world and sharing this Day of AI celebration. So again, just a real acknowledgement. Super exciting. And we deeply appreciate the organizations who've really generously donated to support all of the work that we do. So Liberty Mutual Insurance, DP World, Amazon, and Amazon Future Engineer, and TDM. They've been all fantastic collaborators and have made this possible as well. So thank you all. I hope you've had a terrific day of AI. Please keep an eye out for the new curriculum. We introduce new curriculum every year, and hopefully we'll see you back next year. Have a safe trip back and continue the debate. I'm sure your parents and teachers will love it. So be well. Thank you all.